I won't let my friends down. I can't let my friends down. Friendship Spy! Nintendo Switch Sports is here, ladies and gentlemen, and naturally, it's time to rank all the sports from worst to best. At the recording of this video, not every sport is available in Switch Sports yet. Golf is coming in a free update this fall, so I can't truly rank all the sports right now. But if golf ends up being anything like it was back on the Wii, I'm confident I can drop that straight into the F tier before it even comes out. Go play Mario Golf Super Rush instead. It's fun, it's actually out, and you can play as your Miis in it, so it's basically Switch Golf anyway. That said, let's jump straight into my rankings for the Switch Sports offerings that actually are available. Coming in at number 6, we have Badminton. Badminton can be a lot of fun, and it's very simple to play. You could potentially get a rally of 50 plus shots going in this game if you're playing with the right person. All it is timing the swing of your Joy-Con. Unfortunately, it's that same simplicity that has landed it at the bottom of my list. I will say that there can be a lot of beauty in simplicity. Some people might choose this as one of their favorite options in Switch Sports precisely because of how easy it is to pick up, and I completely respect that, but this is my list, and in my own enjoyment of Switch Sports, when comparing Badminton to the other offerings, I kinda realized how much depth it really lacks. Badminton is an inherently simple sport, so I wasn't really expecting the world out of its control scheme going into this game. It feels like I'm just kinda sitting there flicking my wrist for a while and then the game is over all of a sudden. There is a drop shot, but that doesn't really feel that different from the regular shot. If you and your opponent are both really good at timing your wrist flicks, some of these rallies can last a really long time. Another strike against Badminton in my book is that they neglected to include a special mode or variation for it like they did with the other sports to spice it up. Bowling has its obstacle course, Chambara has its selection of different swords. Badminton really just has one option. Maybe Badminton could have some sort of single player target game, or better yet, maybe a mode where your goal isn't to score on your opponent, but to get the longest rally score possible. Then you could have online leaderboards to see who got the highest possible rally. That's a pretty good idea, and Nintendo should probably hire me. Moving on to number 5, we have Chambara. Wii Sports Resorts first gave us the best Star Wars simulator on the market with Chambara. Now it's back and just as fun as it was way back when. Not only does traditional Chambara make its return here, but now we get to choose between different types of swords to use in our battles. First option is of course the traditional sword, just like we remember it from the original version. The second option is the charge sword, which stores up energy as you block your opponent's attacks. You can then release that energy with a super powerful swing by holding the R or L button, which can seriously knock your opponent pretty far back if they don't block it properly. And the third option is twin swords, which is exactly what it sounds like, 2 swords at once. To play the twin swords, you'll have to use 2 Joy-Cons per player, and the major twist here is that you'll have an energy bar at the bottom of your screen, which when filled, can be used for a super spin attack by swinging both swords at the same time. It's like 2 sword style from One Piece. The cool thing about Chambara is that you can choose between any of the 3 sword options regardless of what your opponent chooses to use. So you could potentially challenge yourself and play with a generic single sword against a friend who's running twin swords. Like I said before, Chambara is the closest thing we have to a real Star Wars lightsaber battle simulator. We should put the Switch Sports people in charge of creating a real Star Wars game like that. I'd totally play it. Making its grand return from Wii Sports at number 4, we have tennis. All you really need to do here is swing the Joy-Con for either your forehand shot or your backhand shot, and it is just as smooth as it can be. As someone who actually plays tennis in real life and makes plenty of mistakes on the court, I find it very impressive how accurately they've managed to nail the timing element for your swing. If you're too late to swing at a left-handed forehand, the ball sails straight out of bounds to the left. If you're a bit too early, it'll fly out to the right, just like it does for me in almost every game of tennis I play in real life. This perfectly programmed timing element makes the game feel that much more realistic. Playing doubles with a friend 1v1 in tennis is interesting because you get to control 2 characters at the same time. When you swing, it controls both of the players. One thing I've noticed about tennis is that it's difficult to time the perfect serve. There is this super hard serve that you can hit that has this pink line of power behind it, and it only happens if you hit your toss and your swing perfectly, but I've only managed to achieve this beauty of a serve once and have yet to replicate it. I would say that this is a bad thing, but honestly I like that it's tough because it adds to the challenge of trying to perfect the sport. Regardless, tennis is simple and intuitive to control and has the potential to be very competitive with the right group of friends. It being number 4 on this list is less about it being bad and more about the others just edging it out. Speaking of the others, at number 3, we have soccer. Switch Sports is basically like Rocket League, but the driver got out of his vehicle and we found out that it's actually Joe Biden. This is the only mode that you're required to play with both Joy-Cons in Switch Sports due to its slightly more intricate yet still intuitive control scheme. You use the left stick to run around, the B button to jump, and the left trigger to sprint, which depletes your character's stamina wheel. wheel, so be careful when deciding how to use your energy. You can swing either Joy-Con to kick with either foot, and the direction in which you swing the Joy-Con will dictate the direction in which you kick the soccer ball. Pretty straightforward. What's really fun is swinging both Joy-Cons down at the same time to perform a diving header. These use up some decent stamina, but damn, they are fun to score goals with. I think soccer is an awesome addition to Switch Sports that plays extremely fluidly, but one disappointing aspect of soccer that keeps it from punching just a little higher on this list is the local multiplayer. This is the only sport on the list where there is a huge discrepancy in quality between the online version and the local version. The only real local multiplayer option if you don't feel like playing with CPUs is a 1v1. And 1v1 soccer on a full soccer field can kind of become pretty one-sided and boring when you realize that the person who's going to score is most likely the person who gets to the ball first. Online play is where soccer really comes to life because you get to play an entire 4 versus 4 game of soccer with 7 other people. As lackluster as the local offering for soccer is, the online play makes up for it because it's fun, it's exciting, it's addicting. It's honestly a superior soccer experience to the entire FIFA franchise. Of course, we can't move on from soccer without mentioning that Switch Sports also comes bundled with a leg strap that you can strap a Joy-Con to your leg with for a solo kicking mode. This mode is fun, and the leg strap is a fun novelty to have bundled in with Switch Sports, but it doesn't even come close to being as fun as playing 4v4 soccer online with 7 other people. It's the kind of mode you play once for fun and probably won't ever pick back up again. At number 2, we have bowling. Bowling is back and it's the same as it's always been. This is another sport that I actually partake in real life. Oh man, you guys are really finding out how much of a loser I am in this video. Outside of the graphical upgrades, no shit, and the new fun obstacle course lanes, classic bowling is back in the same form that it first graced us with back in 2006, and honestly, that's completely okay with me. Bowling is bowling, and there's no need to reinvent the wheel with it. It does feel as though the motion sensing is a little tighter in this version of bowling, as I feel like the intensity of my wrist flick more directly impacts how hard the ball spins and hooks down the lane. As a result, it does feel a little harder to control than it used to, but that's okay because the original version might have made it a little too easy to get that perfect game. The obstacle courses are a fun challenge. They have 3 difficulties for you to choose from, ranging from why is this even an option to holy shit, how am I supposed to do this? My favorite part of Switch Bowling is the online mode. It throws you into an elimination game with 16 other people, with the lowest scoring bowlers getting knocked out after every 3 frames. It's incredibly addicting to try and survive a whole elimination round. To prove how addicting online survival bowling can be, every time I get knocked out in the first or second round, I literally call myself a fucking disgrace and immediately find a new lobby. This is one of the only sports in the lineup that I swear I could pop in and play with my grandparents and they would understand it immediately. It's so casual and family friendly that it would have been a complete blunder to leave it out of the Switch Sports lineup, though it is bullshit that we can't throw the ball backwards at the spectators anymore. And coming in at number 1, we have volleyball. In my expert opinion, volleyball is by far the best option in Nintendo Switch Sports right now. Volleyball balances simplicity with intensity and teamwork in a way that none of the other sports in the current lineup are able to do. The controls aren't quite as complex as soccer, as there are no button control configurations that players have to memorize alongside the motion controls, nor are the controls as disappointingly simple as they are in badminton, where you can literally sit back and flick your wrist a few times to win a game. In volleyball, you have 5 actions to perform: serve, bump, set, spike, and block, and they are all so satisfying to perform. Some of them require similar types of motion controls from the player. For instance, bumping and blocking both involve swinging the Joy-Con in an upward motion, but given the different contexts in which you use these actions, they both end up feeling completely unique in practice. Much like tennis and badminton, the timing with which you execute each of these motions leads to more powerful shots. But what takes things up a notch with volleyball is the teamwork element. If you and your teammate manage to string together 3 perfectly timed actions in a row, from bump to set to spike, the resulting spike will be extremely powerful and difficult for the opponent to return. Of all the games in Switch Sports, and even Wii Sports as a franchise for that matter, there is no single sport that nails the teamwork element nearly as well as volleyball does, and in my opinion, that's what sets this sport so far apart from everything else on this list. Sure, there can be teamwork in tennis, but you could conceivably win a game without ever using the player at the net. Sure, soccer has a 4v4 mode online, but that doesn't require as much rhythm and coordination as volleyball. Every single point you and your teammate earn in volleyball requires both of you to be at the top of your game, and the victories are all the more satisfying because of it. Basically, this game is great because it showcases the true power of friendship.
I won't let my friends down. I can't let my friends down. Friendship Spy!
To end things off here, I just want to mention that I've been having a lot of fun with all 6 of the sports on this list, regardless of where I have them ranked, and I really do think Nintendo did an overall great job on this game. The online modes function almost flawlessly, the motion controls are smooth across all 6 sports, and playing locally with my friends and family is as fun as it's ever been. If you're on the fence about buying this game, I would say it's probably worth the price of admission. Psych! There's no baseball, so this game is the worst!